You are listening and watching the Baylor football postgame show here on the Baylor Lariat Radio. The Bears coming off a big 35-34 win over the Kansas State Wildcats, finishing off with a blocked field goal attempt by Caden Jenkins. And what a way to finish. Hi, everyone. Hope y'all are doing well. I'm Jeffrey Cohen here alongside me, Aidan O'Connor. And Aidan, as I said, just what a way to finish a game that was just incredible in the second half. You didn't know at any point who was going to win that game. Just kept on going back and forth.
Definitely. You had a lot of momentum shift, especially that Jacob Redding pick six was the turning point of the game. It was Baylor down. They needed that score right there, and it set them up to lead and take the momentum, and that was such a big point of this game. And just Jacob Redding in the SMU game, too, having a big interception, and he's come up clutch in these games this year. And then the defensive hold as well. They were down at the 3-yard line, looking like they were going to score at the end of the game for Kansas State, and the defense able to hold and only having a field goal and allowing Baylor to go down the field. And then Connor Hawkins with the longest field goal of his career with 54-yard field goal. And having timeouts taken before that, I know mentally for a lot of kickers that can get to them, but he persevered through it and was able to deliver and give the lead, and then defense holding up once again.
Yeah, and again, as I said, just big moment after big moment for Baylor. Finishing the game, Sawyer Robertson, 345 yards on 64% completion percentage. Bryson Washington leading a kind of hampered run game today, had 65 yards on 9 rushing attempts. Michael Turner had the second most rushing attempts, 7 for 38 yards, and the lone rushing touchdown for Baylor today. Starting to really get some more action like he did last week in Stillwater against Oklahoma State. And then for receiving, Story's Michael Trigg. I mean, just look at that stat line. 8 catches, 155 yards, no touchdowns, almost had one, but it got turned back around. But again, that Baylor offense going down late in that game, going down by 2 scores in that second half, opened the game, and Sawyer Robertson, that pass game, kind of had to play hero ball.
Oh, they did, and that catch we were talking about, Trigg there, didn't get the touchdown earlier in the game, but got a big catch on the sideline to set them up within the 20 to try to get within 1 score. And without that catch, Baylor would not have been in it, and that was a big chunk play they needed then. And it seems that whenever he is needed on a late game, like last year with TCU on that 4th down, Michael Trigg comes up.
Yeah, and he's one of the best receiving tight ends in the country. Came into tonight 3rd in the nation in receiving yards, 1st in receiving touchdowns, almost added to that touchdown total, but again, as it got put back. But then on the other side of the ball, the defense, they were struggling at points throughout the game, but when it came down to it, they really got stops in the 4th quarter, forced a punt, got that big pick six by Jacob Redding, and then ending with that big field goal block to put this game on ice.
Oh, yeah, they did a great job. They struggled throughout the 2nd and 3rd quarters, and really Kansas State was able to do whatever they wanted to do. Having Avery Johnson, who's not typically a passer, passed for 339 yards and 2 touchdowns, and also rushed for 72 yards. He was doing whatever he wanted in those 2 quarters, but in the 4th quarter, the game plan changed, both on defense, having QB spies on him, watching him more, and then on offense as well, the game plan also changes. We had talked about during the game, Spavital does like those deep go balls on the sideline, but they weren't always working, and he adjusted to those slants up the middle of the field that Baylor is so good at. And as well, that 2-point conversion that was big in the game. Usually they're very against Sawyer rushing the ball, but on that 2-point conversion that ultimately got them to this point, they decided to run it in with him, and it paid off.
Yeah, and that was a big momentum shift for that offense. I remember during the broadcast I had said, why are you running this? If you make the extra point, it's a 7-point game, and a touchdown, an extra point ties it up. But if you're going to go with a risky play like that, you gotta make a good play call, and Jake Spavital did that. Sawyer Robertson running the ball in, bouncing off some defenders, and finishing the job, getting a valuable 2-point conversion for the Bears, and that was the difference in this game, winning only by 1.
Oh, it was, and I mean, when they were going on for the 2-point conversion, it looked very risky, and I could see everybody in the stadium just waiting and not knowing if that was because if he didn't make that, Aranda would very much, get vilified throughout the entire week in the press, but he took that chance. He believed in Sawyer Robertson, and it paid off.
Yeah, well, now we had talked about it during the broadcast. This game was a turning point for both teams, all right? Whoever won this game kept their season alive. Whoever lost, that might have been it. That might have been wraps. And so what does that mean for Baylor now coming into this bye week next week at 4-2? What does that mean for Dave Aranda and his crew?
It means there's still a chance. It means there's still a chance for the Big 12 championship, the CFP playoff, and now, ever since that loss against Arizona State, this team knows they can't lose any more games if they are to reach the expectations they had earlier this year. And so it keeps them alive and keeps their chances in the Big 12 alive as well, with other teams like Texas Tech and Iowa State being really good this year. And also giving them a win going into the bye week. And we saw what Dave Aranda could do with the bye week last year in terms of making adjustments, especially defensively. And so that will be big in terms of Baylor winning today at the end of this game, but how much better are they going to get out of the bye week? And that will be really big for them if Aranda can make those same kind of improvements as he did last year.
Yeah, and going into this bye week, just speaking of that, obviously this first half of the season, first 6 games, it's been physical opponent after physical opponent, and both sides of the ball are just getting worn down. So now you got 2 weeks until your next game. If you're Dave Aranda and that coaching staff, what are you focusing on the most over these next 2 weeks?
I think especially as a defense, Aranda and Baylor need to focus on stopping the QB rush. I mean, they've been Sam Levitt, Jackson Arnold, and today you saw Avery Johnson rushing for 72 yards and leading the team. There needs to be a stop to that threat, and I think that needs to be covered. I also think on the offensive side, Spavital needs to, like in this game, he needs to be able to change his play calls a bit earlier, not be so stringent on this is what we had going in, I'm not going to change it. And getting Baylor down so early in these games to where it takes a heroic effort by the offense and miracle field goals and stops on the defensive end for them to win. And because as you see in SMU this game, this is not a sustainable formula for success. And so that will be big for sure.
Yeah, and I think another thing to touch on that I saw plenty in this game was just how empty the middle of the field looked like for that Baylor defense. I didn't see a whole lot of production in coverage for Baylor's linebackers, especially for guys like Kylan Reed and Keaton Thomas. They did make their plays down the stretch, and I'll give them plenty of credit for getting the job done when they needed it most. But throughout that game, that in between those hashes, it was wide open, and it was just free range for Avery Johnson, whether it's to run if he had an open lane down the middle, or to find a guy, especially one of his tight ends, going down the middle. It was very free. So I think part of that is, hey, we got to solidify our coverage, right? We can't just split up and not leave anything down the middle, because that's been hurting us so much. And I think as a defense, the defense as a whole, I think just finding the right places to play and being able to anticipate the spots you need to be to make those plays is going to be big and a big focus over these next 2 weeks.
Definitely. And like we said, Dave Aranda is able to work miracles over the bye week and getting that defense set, getting to where they could have people that can cover a rushing quarterback. And, they've gone through the gauntlet now with all these rushing quarterbacks, but they still have some more to go for the rest of the year. So that will be key for them, but also getting the rushing game more reinvigorated as well. As today, there was no over 100-yard rusher, and Bryson Washington has had a couple games since he had a performance like that. And so getting the rushing game to the point it was last year to where Baylor could really hurt you from the passing or rushing game And I think that was good to see Turner today having some more rushes, having some more yards, trying to be in that more Dawson Pendergrass role.
Yeah, well, Baylor, with their win today, gets their first home win over a Power 4 opponent this season. They were 1-2 at McLean Stadium heading into today with their only win going up against Samford, who came into this week 0-5 overall and 0-3 in conference play. So, again, just another big momentum boost, right? Morale boost for this team that had talked about defending their home turf, defending McLean Stadium coming into this week. And so it just got to feel really, really good for them, right, Aidan?
Definitely, and they're 1-2 at home going into this game, and now they're at 500, and trying to prove to fans, hey, come to the games, be loud for us, we will win, and that is definitely something that they try to prove here today. As we were talking about before the game, they had a 4-12 record in the past 16 games against Power 4 conference teams. And this game proves that they can get a big win like this, because Oklahoma State fired their head coach, wasn't really in good shape. They had a big win versus SMU, granted, but in the Samford win was versus a team that is not all there as a program. And so this win versus a Kansas State team that is way better than their record indicates really solidifies that they can win games versus bigger teams and give them momentum going forward into the rest of the year as they try to make that Big 12 championship run.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to after the bye week, I think is where they have their biggest challenge for the rest of the season, right? They're going to be going to Fort Worth playing rivals TCU, going up against a really good offense with a really good quarterback in Josh Hoover. So what's the mentality going to be like coming into a game that as a team that you've really struggled against to beat over the last couple years? You're coming off a big win against them last year. Now what's the mentality going into their house trying to make a 2-game winning streak against TCU?
Definitely, and I think it is showing that while Josh Hoover is good, Sawyer is better. And that's what Baylor's mantra is going to be going into that, because while this defense can make improvements during the bye week, there is not much that can stop that TCU passing attack. So it will probably have to be a game like this one, and the mentality will be going in that the offense can overpower and get through anything that is thrown at them, whether it be the TCU defense or a big deficit that they'll have to come back from.
Yeah, well, with that, that'll do it from us here at McLean Stadium. Bears with a big 35-34 win over the Kansas State Wildcats. They'll have a bye week next week. Just kind of tune things up and get ready to take on the TCU Horned Frogs in Fort Worth. That'll be on October 18th. Next home game for the Bears will be a month from now. That'll be homecoming against UCF on November 1st. We'll have that call right here on the Baylor Lariat Radio. You can catch us on YouTube at Baylor Lariat Radio. And we also have volleyball, soccer coming to you throughout the month of October and throughout the semester, so make sure to be on the lookout for that on YouTube. So that'll do it from us here at McLean Stadium. From all of us at Baylor Lariat Radio, I'm Jeffrey Cohen, here alongside me, Aidan O'Connor, and you've been listening to the Baylor Football Postgame Show on Baylor Lariat Radio. Dude, X Spaces was muted the entire